Good afternoon and welcome to this fingraphs.com podcast on Dukascopy TV. Today we're going to look at the euro, which has been consolidating over the last few weeks, and try to understand if this is a reversal of trend or if the euro could resume higher over the next few weeks. We will start on our fingraphs.com platform and on this cross-asset mosaics. We featured the euro, the US tips, gold, and the Australian dollar on a daily basis for the perspective over the next few months, and on an hourly basis for the perspective over the next few weeks. In general, we believe that for now the euro and the tips are still in the long-term uptrend. Gold has seen a 6 months consolidation, maybe getting towards the end of it, but we believe there's still some risk over the next few weeks. And the Australian dollar is also still in quite a stable uptrend and is seeing an intermediate consolidation. Let's look at them in detail. So first, euro-US dollar. We still believe that the acceleration that started in March and followed the 2 years of downtrend in sync with many cyclical factors is quite strong and could continue over the next few quarters. This is what our trend indicator is saying here. It is giving us targets in the high 120s, possibly over the next few quarters. So may not happen in Q1 or in Q2, but we may see it towards the end of the year. For now, our risk index is still moving up. It's not in the overbought zone already, and that does leave us some leeway to the upside. We believe the strong resistance here is probably towards the tops that were made in early 2018, so towards 124, 125. Now on the daily graph, we're still in an uptrend, but we've seen a slight double top structure and hence the consolidation period that started in early January. We did expect it to last till late January, but its price action continuing lower over the last few days has surprised us a bit, so hence our presentation today. We believe the uptrend is still in place, so the targets were pretty much reached, but we're still looking at this weekly graph, which does seem still well positioned to the upside, and hence our targets over the next few months would still be around 124, 125. That said, on the hourly, we can see that we are still in a downtrend for now, that it doesn't seem quite over yet. There's probably another week, maybe 10 days to go, and that it could lead us lower, possibly down to 119 over this period. We can see the risk index is already well oversold, so that's a positive sign. But as said, we would probably leave it another week to 10 days just to confirm that support can be found and that we could then resume the uptrend on this daily graph. We believe the tips probably explain this retracement we just have seen in the euro. And the tips is the inverse of real rates. And indeed, over the last few days, real rates have been bouncing. What we can see is that for now, we're not too concerned about the long-term direction of tips, so the long-term downtrend on real rates. We're still in a very strong uptrend here on our weekly graph. The risk index is not overbought yet, and it seems to extend for another few quarters. If we look at the daily, we're a bit more advanced in the trend, and hence the consolidation that we're seeing. We were almost or slightly overbought here in December. We've seen that the pace of the uptrend has since slowed a bit, and we would expect perhaps a couple more weeks of consolidation. If we look at the hourly graph here, we could see the correction that we're seeing at the moment. So real rates are bouncing and hence the dollar is strengthening. There's probably another week more to go here. Not that much downside, but still that will continue to put some pressure on the euro versus the dollar. Behind that, we still believe that we're in an uptrend on the daily and an uptrend on the weekly, and that we should resume the uptrend on tips and the downtrend on US real rates. Gold is suffering a bit more from this situation. It indeed started to correct some time ago, had an attempt, so last August, had an attempt here to resume the uptrend. And this consolidation on real rates has taken its toll on it, and it is back towards a support at the moment. It's not quite oversold yet, so we believe there's probably a risk of some kind of a further dip, perhaps even a liquidation over the next 2-3 weeks. The targets, if we do break the levels, and the last lows here were around 1770, would be towards 1700 and perhaps slightly below. We do believe, however, that should be an opportunity because the uptrend is still well in place on gold, the long-term uptrend, and over the next few quarters, we expect it to resume higher once again and make new highs towards next spring, perhaps even higher towards year end. For now, indeed, the risk index is still below the overbought zone and still has some way to go before it reaches it. Shorter term, we can see here that we're in a bit of an exaggeration at the moment, but here also we see a bit more risk in terms of timing, a bit more risk in terms of price. In this situation here, where we could get some kind of a liquidation, pushes us to be prudent and probably wait and see for further confirmations over the next couple of weeks before attempting to buy the dip here. Then finally, just on a reassuring note, for the euro, we wanted to look at the Australian dollar. It also had a very cyclical downtrend between 2018 and 2020, and since March has been accelerating up in a very linear fashion. We do believe that this uptrend is not over. It still shows upside potential, and our risk index here is moving higher, but it's still not overbought. Here also some kind of a double top structure here on our oscillators and some consolidation, but we do believe that a resume uptrend situation will materialize to create new highs over the next few months. On the hourly, also there's a bit more risk short term, maybe a week to 10 days here. We can see that there's some downside risk towards 74.55, so maybe a figure and a half also left. So we're not quite there yet. We're still in this consolidation mode, but we are confident that we should reach a resume uptrend situation, probably towards mid-February, and then resume the uptrend towards the end of the quarter. And that's pretty much what we see on the euro, on tips, and probably also on gold. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a great week in trading.